the path of material career growth, then he would have definitely reached greater height there as well. Maharaj was working in a very famous beverage company, but he then dedicated his entire life to the mission, serving the mission of Srila Prabhupada. And it is mentioned that every time Gopal Krishna Maharaj used to come to visit Srila Prabhupada, Maharaj used to come with like basically he was helping with publishing the BBT books at that point in time as his service. So Maharaj used to come with a newly published book. And Srila Prabhupada was so pleased by the dedication, submission of his disciple, while still handling, Maharaj was still handling his responsibilities as a householder and as a corporate employee. And later on, Maharaj took sannyas order of life and has been one of the pioneers in spreading the Krishna consciousness movement in India, along with His Holiness Jayapataka Swami Maharaj and other glorious disciples of Srila Prabhupada. And in Delhi itself, Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj has been instrumental in spreading ISKCON in so many ways, where in Delhi itself we have major as well as satellite centers if we consider 20 plus temples. And many of the leaders of our country, including the current Prime Minister, as well as earlier Prime Ministers from the time of Atal Bihari Vajpayee and so on, have been so respectful towards Maharaj and acknowledging his contribution to the society in spreading the philosophy of Bhagavad Gita. So I ideally wanted to request devotees to pray for Maharaj's health recovery, but just few minutes back I saw the message that Maharaj has departed. So as a gesture of our gratitude towards Gopala Krishna Goswami Maharaj, we would chant for few minutes and then we begin our Bhakti Vaibhav discussion. Hare Krishna. Any devotee would like to chant Kirtan, Srila Prabhupada's tune, Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Gita Pradeep Mataji. Hare Krishna Mataji. You can start with the Panchatattva mantra and then Hare Krishna Mahamantra.
Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Shall I continue?
Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Jayo Radha Govinda Shri Radhe. Jayo Gauranitai, Jai Gauranitai, Jayo Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Prabhupada. Jayo Gurudev, Gurudev. Harinam Sankirtan ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Are you all able to view my screen?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudire Nashtapraeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatir Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapatakamallam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagar Jatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Shri Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Shri Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vamcha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin iti namine Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarine Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Welcome all Prabhujis, Matajis to this morning's discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam as part of the Bhakti Vaibhav's program, Bhakti Vaibhav session.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Dandavat Pran.
Hare Krishna, Dandavas, Vandita, Tungavidya Mataji. So last time when we met, my apologies, like there have been few interruptions since we started this chapter because of my shifting and all, where I needed to give some time and attention. So last time when we discussed about Bhishma Dev, how when it was time for his passing away, all the great personalities, including the list of the great sages that have been mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam, including Srila Shukadev Goswami, Vyasadev, Narada Muni, Asita, all the Saptarshis, so on and so forth, along with Lord Shri Krishna and the Pandavas, all have arrived to witness the glorious passing away of Bhishma Dev, knowing his position as the pure devotee of the Lord throughout his life, from the very beginning of his life. And Lord Krishna, specifically Srimad Bhagavatam mentions, that wanted to give darshan and give pleasure, satisfaction to Bhishma Dev at the time of his passing away, acknowledging the whole life of dedication and submission that Bhishma Dev had dedicated in the service of Lord Krishna. And we also discussed how Bhishma Dev also, although lying on a bed of arrows, he still was fully conscious and received all the different great personalities, including the Supreme Lord Krishna, including the Pandavas and all the great sages, by his loving glance and the sweet words. In text number 9, Bhagavatam describes in great detail how Bhishma Dev, from the bodily perspective, his body was not at all in a position to receive them properly, but still Bhishma Dev received them properly using whatever faculties he had working, namely his sweet loving glance and the sweet words that Bhishma Dev could offer to them. And then subsequently, we had begun discussion how Bhishma Dev, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Rohini Mataji, Devika Mataji, I'm just making you co-host, so just help me.
Okay, Prabhu.
Yeah. So how Bhishma Dev pacified, how he first reciprocated with Lord Krishna, then how he pacified the Pandavas, who were greatly aggrieved seeing their great grandfather Bhishma Dev in this particular position, in such a painful situation where there was not an inch of his body where the arrows had not pierced him. And specifically, Yudhishthir Maharaj had this feeling of guilt that because of his greed for the earthly kingdom and his because of his greed for the kingdom, he has caused the massacre of so many thousands and thousands of the Kshatriyas, and is also ultimately the cause of Bhishma Dev's suffering. So Bhishma Dev first pacified the Pandavas, saying how it is possible for them to undergo tribulations when so many positive factors, including they being the sons of religion personified, specifically Maharaj Yudhishthir being the son of Yamaraj, the religion personified, they having the strength of Bhima and the archery skills of great Arjuna, and they having none other than the Supreme Lord Krishna as one of living as one of their family members, how it was possible for them to undergo the tribulations. But ultimately, Bhishmadev mentions, what is the reason Bhishmadev mentions for the Pandavas' tribulations? Yes, Prabhuji's Mataji would have discussed in the last session with Rasarangini Mataji. Anyone wants to try?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prem Prakash Prabhuji.
It is the act of Lord Krishna himself which never can be understood. And it is not certainly the action of the karmas of the Pandavas.
Yes, Prabhuji. So Bhishmadev mentions to Yudhishthir Maharaj that, my dear Yudhishthir and all the Pandavas, do not be aggrieved, that understand all of these happenings as the inconceivable will of the Lord. And then he gives subsequently the characteristics of this inconceivable will, that even the great sages and great devatas, including Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva themselves, are exactly unable to understand the plan of the Lord. And in conclusion, Bhishmadev mentions to Yudhishthir that the conclusion should be, one should simply surrender oneself to acknowledging that will of the Lord and surrender oneself to fulfilling that will of the Lord without being too much in botheration about why certain things are happening. One should surrender to the will of the Lord. That's where the second section of Bhishmadev pacifying the Pandavas, it concludes. So some of these purports, I just want to go into a bit more detail. So if devotees have any questions, then we can discuss further. Yeah. All right. So let's go to the, give me 1 minute. So we'll start with text 16 onwards, where Bhishmadev instructs Maharaj Yudhishthir what are the different characteristics of this will of the Lord, how it is irreversible. And we will also see some of the examples from the scriptures. So in the interest of time, these verses, since all of you have already gone through, we won't recite the verses. We will recite for the next section onwards. Any devotee wants to read through the highlighted part? Hare Krishna. Rohini Mataji, Hare Krishna. Mataji, you can read the translation and then the highlighted part.
Okay. Translation. O King, no one can know the plan of the Lord, Sri Krishna. Even though great philosophers inquire exhaustively, they are bewildered. Bhishma wanted to impress upon Maharaja Yudhishthira that since time immemorial, no one, including such demigods as Shiva and Brahma, could ascertain the real plan of the Lord. So what can we understand about it? It is useless also to inquire about it. Even the exhaustive philosophical inquiries of sages cannot ascertain the plan of the Lord. The best policy is to simply to abide by the orders of the Lord without argument. The sufferings of the Pandavas were never due to their past deeds. The Lord had to execute the plan of establishing the kingdom of virtue, and therefore his own devotees suffered temporarily in order to establish the conquest of virtue. Even a great fighter like Bhishma could not win the battle of Kurukshetra because the Lord wanted to show that the wise cannot conquer virtue, regardless of who tries to execute it. Bhishma Deva was a great devotee of the Lord, but he chose to fight against the Pandavas by the will of the Lord because the Lord wanted to show that a fighter like Bhishma cannot win on the wrong side. Hare Krishna. Prabhuji, you're on mute, I think.
Oh, sorry, Mataji. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
So here we see how a great devotee of the Lord, Bhishmadev, is showing through his own example that it is not possible to understand the plan of the Lord, and rather than worrying about trying to understand it, the better course of action is we submit to the plan and serve in fulfilling the plan of the Lord, like Bhishmadev himself did, where it is mentioned that Bhishmadev knew from very beginning that Krishna wants to prove something through him. That even a great fighter like Bhishmadev, who had this benediction of Ichha Maran, Ichha Mrityu, that means he would only die when he decides to die. And he was unconquerable in the battlefield, even by the great archers and warriors like Bhimasen, Arjuna, and so on and so forth. And we see how, even without the 5 arrows that Bhishmadev had specifically prepared and reserved for killing all the Pandavas, still he was so powerful that even without those 5 arrows, he could totally defeat Arjuna. And Arjuna was really at his mercy, where Bhishmadev, if he would have wanted, he would have definitely killed, but not for Lord Krishna. That without the will of the Lord Krishna, Arjuna and all the Pandavas would surely have not survived. So Bhishmadev, here Srimad Bhagavatam is describing that he was a great devotee of the Lord, and his fighting against the Pandavas on the side of the Adharma, on the side of the Kauravas, was only to prove this one particular important point for the world, that how much great a person we may be, if we are on the side of irreligion, then we are sure shot to be doomed and destroyed. And Bhishmadev, it is explained in the classes by various senior devotees on him. It is also explained that Bhishmadev also knew that for generations together, people will tend to misunderstand him, that probably it was the political obligation which pushed a great person like Bhishmadev to fight on the side of Kauravas. Not at all. The reason was Lord Krishna's will, and Bhishmadev wanted to assist the Lord in proving that particular point that we just mentioned. So in return, such great personalities, they were ready to be blasphemed and ridiculed by generations of people and misunderstood by generations of people subsequently, if that is what it takes to serve the Lord, if that is what it takes to satisfy the Lord. And here we see Lord Krishna himself is reciprocating with the surrender of Bhishmadev by being personally present and also arranging the circumstances which will give happiness and satisfaction to Bhishmadev at the time of his passing away. Then subsequently Bhishmadev mentions that accepting the inconceivable plan of the Lord, you must follow it. You means Pandava, specifically led by Yudhishthir Maharaj. You are now the appointed administrative head, and my lord, you should now take care of those subjects who are now rendered helpless. So here in the purport, Srila Prabhupada is explaining how when Lord Krishna wants to teach something to the world, he always likes to teach it putting the example of his devotees in front. And sometimes in order to fulfill this purpose, this mission of the Lord, to teach the world something, the devotees, they undergo great tribulations without any complaint. They consider these great tribulations as the benediction, as the mercy of the Lord. Here it is mentioned. A devotee's duty, therefore, is to ungrudgingly. It is not that, in English, there is a saying that when you can't bear, you endure. But devotee's mood is not like that. Devotee's mood is to happily accept tribulations equally, just like we accept the favors from the Lord. Because Bhagavatam explains that there is no difference between Lord's favor and the so-called difficult tests that are given by him. A pure devotee of the Lord accepts tribulations as favors from the Lord. Since the Lord is absolute, there is no mundane difference between the two. That means the favors of the Lord are equally as beneficial as also the tribulations that the Lord puts his devotees through. And there is this famous verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, from Lord Brahma's prayers in 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. We have quoted this few times, even as part of our Bhakti Shastri discussion. Devotees can try to repeat. This is a very important verse, and also try to memorize this. 10:14:8. Tate anukampam susamikshmano.
Tate
Tate
Anukampam
susamikshmano
Mano
Bhunjana evatmakritam vipakam.
Bhunjana
evatmakritam
vipakam
vipakam
Hridvagvapurvirvidhan namaste.
Hridvagvapurvirvidhan namaste
Jivet yo muktipade sadayabha.
Jiveto muktipade sadaya bha.
So here Lord Brahma is explaining what happens to such a devotee who accepts and goes through all these tribulations with a grateful heart and with still remaining loyal to Lord Krishna and patiently awaiting his mercy. Such a devotee, here Lord Brahma mentions that he becomes an eligible candidate to go back home, back to Godhead. And going back home, back to Godhead becomes his rightful claim. That means he qualifies himself or herself to go back home, back to Godhead. Exact translation goes, my dear Lord, one who earnestly waits for you to bestow your causeless mercy upon him, all the while patiently suffering the reactions of his past misdeeds, and offering you respectful obeisances within his heart, words, and body, is surely eligible for liberation, for it has become his rightful claim. Now, although in this verse we see Lord Brahma mentioning that a devotee's mindset, a devotee's thought process is that he doesn't think the difficulties, tribulations as Lord Krishna's granting upon him. He considers the misdeeds as due to his past bad karma, as past misdeeds, like we see in the case of Maharaj Yudhishthir. But from the basis, from the authority of the scriptures, we understand that it is Lord Krishna himself who is arranging this test for a devotee for a higher purpose. A devotee's karmic reactions, to the degree he or she is surrendered, are not governed by their past misdeeds, they are governed by the Lord's will. So that is how Bhishmadev is explaining to Maharaj Yudhishthir. So now we have a group activity understanding Bhishmadev's example, where he himself accepted great tribulations. See, accepting tribulations is one thing, but accepting the fact that people will tend to misunderstand us in future is totally different. For a person of such honor and character like Bhishmadev to be ready to be misunderstood by generations of people in future because of he fighting on the side of Kauravas, that was a great surrender from Bhishmadev. So can we think of any other examples from the scriptures, Prabhuji's, Mataji's, of great personalities who undertook great tribulations as the mercy of the Lord, and in order to fulfill that mission and will of the Lord, they dedicated their whole life, or they showed a great surrender at one particular time, even in patiently tolerating act of somebody else who was totally acting in an unjust manner. It was not reasonable for them to accept those injustices, but because it was the will of the Lord, they accepted the great tribulation, great difficulty. Any examples? Devotees can raise their hands and then we can request one by one. Don't rush to answer. Hare Krishna. So maybe you can take a minute or so to think and we will. Hare Krishna, don't unmute Priyadarshini Mataji. I will request you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Okay. So we'll have example. Shama Gopika Mataji, will start with you. An example of a devotee who tolerated tribulations in his or her life as the will of the Lord.
Yeah, one example, Prabhu, I can think of is like Suniti Mata. When Dhruva Maharaj was insulted by stepmother Suruchi, and at that time, even Suniti Mata knew that it was an injustice to done to Dhruv Maharaj, but she understood. I mean, she could have routed Dhruv Maharaj through another way also to take revenge or something, but then like properly guided Dhruv Maharaj to take the shelter of Supreme Lord. She acted as a spiritual master also to Dhruv Maharaj, and also she did not react in that uh, in in that moment of time. And the one thing that she said was like, don't think of doing anything harm to others, because that will return to you if you do that. So you will have to suffer that pain which you instill into others. So that is the very beautiful example I can think of, like wherein it is really like very encouraging and motivating.
Thank
Even
you,
though she was
Shyama
like,
Gopinath.
yeah, even though she was like suffering, but she still motivated Dhruv Maharaj.
Thank you, Mataji. That Dhruva, as we see as a 5-year-old boy, he already had all the Kshatriya characteristics. And as Mataji rightly mentioned, for our loved one to see them suffering is more painful than having those sufferings in our own life. So as Dhruva Maharaj's mother, Suniti would have surely suffered a great deal seeing her son in that pitiable condition, where he was insulted and basically pulled from the lap of his father. And she, first of all, important thing she did was to pacify Dhruva, mentioning that whatever your stepmother has said is correct, my dear son. There is nothing incorrect in that. And please don't think in a vengeful attitude. Otherwise, it would have definitely led Dhruva Maharaj in a totally different direction if Suniti had not guided and instructed Dhruva Maharaj in the right manner to take shelter of the Lord. We'll request few more devotees. Venkata Narsimha Prabhuji, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhuji, you can unmute.
King Harichandra was King Harichandra Prabhuji.
Okay. Explain a bit, Prabhuji.
Is stand by truth, and Vishwamitra asked him to give so much money that he could not give. For that reason, he has given his kingdom and left away, and the remaining amount also he has collected from Nakshatraka, and he lost his son and he departed his wife, and at last it is the tribulation conducted by these Vishwamitra and other semi-gods.
Okay, actually, I have heard about Harish Chandra, but the exact details of the incident that Prabhuji is telling, anybody is able to explain? Anybody knows the story of Harish Chandra? Hare Krishna. Anyone? Okay, thank you, Venkata Narsimha Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, Shailaja Mataji, you wanted to share something?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, right? Regarding Satya Harishchandra, I just wanted to say. So he was a king basically with obviously with a wife and the son, and then he was so truthful all his life in such a way that he went to the extent of selling his wife and then the prince and other people just to hold his truthfulness. And then for himself also, he did not have any earnings. He sacrificed all his kingdom and then everything else. So he went away. He wore a very simple dress, even for his wife and then the kid. So they went to the forest, sacrificing the kingdom, and then when they did not have anything else to eat, so he sold his wife so that she can go and earn in in another house, basically the housemaid, and then she could sustain her life. And then he sold his kid son then to somebody else in another house for the same housemaking chore. And then when he was alone also, he was being the security guard in a graveyard. And then his salary was also very poor, and then he would just eat up whatever the few things eatables that would come with the dead body. it just went on for some time until that he met his wife, who came with her dead son to bury, and then she did not have anything to pay. And then he said, if you have to bury your son, you need to pay the fee. And she did not have anything. And then he asked, you can sell your, Mangal Sutra. And then she's like, how do you know that I have a Mangal Sutra? Nobody else would know that other than my husband. And then, that's when they realize it's my husband and then wife. And then the Lord actually appears there to say that, you have actually passed your test of the truthfulness. And then he regained his kingdom and then wife. And then the son also he got his
came
life.
back to life.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Any other example any devotee wants to describe from Srila Prabhupada's books? We have examples of quite a few devotees who accepted tribulations to fulfill the will of the Lord. Any other examples from?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yes, Dhanyadameshwari.
Queen Kunti Devi, Prabhu.
Yes.
So actually, in spite of after King Pandu, along with the Pandavas, actually there were so much tribulations in their life. In spite of that, she always brought the Pandavas in a righteous way and always under the protection of Krishna, Prabhu. So that strong conviction she had, and she herself being a pure devotee.
Thank you, Dhanyadameshwari Mataji. Maybe we'll take one more example. Prem Prakash Haridas Prabhuji, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Prabhupada himself, when he lost so much in the business, in spite of having no issues of his own, and still he continued with that tribulation without any offense to anyone.
Yes, and in fact, Prabhupada considered, what does Lord Krishna want me to do? He considered it as a mercy, as the favor of the Lord, and he remembered that verse from 10th canto. Yasyaham anugrunnami harishyati dhanam shanay. That when Lord Krishna wants to show special mercy, he takes away everything so that the devotee does not have anything else but the Supreme Lord to take shelter of. So yes, few examples devotees mentioned. Kunti Devi, Maharaj Parikshit, he accepted the curse by Shringi, although he was totally competent to counteract that curse, but he considered it as the will of the Lord. And through that episode, we see Srimad Bhagavatam came out. Similarly, Prahlad Maharaj, he did not compromise on his devotional service, and even in front of his father, he stuck to the truth that Lord Vishnu being the Supreme Lord and that he should practice devotional service even at the risk to his own life. So he underwent all the tribulations just to maintain the integrity of his devotional service. He did not. And we see Bali Maharaj, although he was warned by his spiritual master Shukracharya that this small young Brahmana who had come to beg for charity, his Supreme Lord Vishnu and Bali would lose everything if he agrees to give the charity. Bali Maharaj did not budge. That if that is the will of the Lord, he said he already is the owner. Everything already belongs to him. So if Lord has come to ask for something, it is my great fortune and I should honor that. And we also see whenever there were unjust actions, like when Prithu Maharaj was conducting the sacrifices, he knew that Indra was in an unjust manner trying to interfere within the Ashwamedh sacrifices, which were being conducted just for the welfare of the king subjects, not for his own personal benefit. But immediately Prithu Maharaj submitted himself to the authority of Lord Krishna's representative, Lord Brahma, in stopping the half-finished 100 sacrifice. So similarly, Maharaj Janamejaya, when he was, because of being upset, because of Takshaka bird being the cause for Parikshit Maharaj's end of Parikshit Maharaj's rule and life, Maharaj Janamejaya, when he was conducting snake sacrifice, where all the snakes from all over the world were being brought in and being pulled into the sacrificial fire, he again stopped immediately as soon as the authority, Lord Brahma, instructed him that what you are committing is excess to what has happened. So many examples we see of devotees, they accepting all these tribulations just to honor, respect, and fulfill the will of the Lord. And we see the example of Bhishma Dev, who is again dedicating his entire life. And if not for the commentary of the Acharyas, even we would be misunderstanding Bhishma Dev, that why did he take the side of the Kauravas. Then in the next set of verses, so this is the set of verses where we begin our discussion today. Text 18 onwards, where Bhishmadev glorifies the position of Lord Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So we'll quickly go through these verses. And then we have a very important group exercise on the teachings of Bhishmadev to Yudhishthir Maharaj. Any devotee would like to recite? I see earlier, Hare Krishna. We'll request devotees who have not recited so far, Divya Rukmini Mataji, and also we had Prema Priya Jayashri Mataji earlier raise her hand. So Mataji, you can keep your hand raised and I will request you also one of the verses. Divya Rukmini Mataji, you want to start with text 18?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Can you hear me, Prabhu?
Yes, I can hear. You
Hare
want the Devanagari text or you're okay with this?
I have it, Prabhu. Devanagari.
Okay.
Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Esha vai Bhagavan Sakshat.
Esha vai Bhagavan Sakshat.
Adyo Narayana Puman.
Adyo Narayana Puman.
Mohayan Mayaya Logam.
Mohayan Maya Lokam.
Gudascharati Vishnushu.
Gudascharati Vishnishu. Translation.
Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. This Sri Krishna is no other than the inconceivable original personality of Godhead. He is the first Narayana, the supreme enjoyer. But he is moving amongst the descendants of King Vrishni, just like one of us, and he is bewildering us with his self-created energy. Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Thank you, Mother. We will go through some of the important portions of the purport. As such, whole purports are important, but in the interest of time, we will only go through the selective portions. Now, Divya Rukmini Mataji, you want to read through this?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Bhishmadeva is one of the 12 Mahajans who know the principles of transcendental knowledge. His confirmation of Lord Krishna's being the original personality of Godhead is also corroborated by the impersonalist Shankara. All other acharyas have also have also confirmed this statement, and thus there is no chance of not accepting Lord Sri Krishna as the original personality of Godhead. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. So here Bhishmadev is establishing Lord Krishna's position for Yudhishthir Maharaj, Pandavas, and everyone else present, that please don't consider him, my dear Yudhishthir, also as one of your family members. And same fact was also stressed by Kunti Devi in her prayers, that although he may be appearing as one of the descendants of the Vrishni dynasties, the cousin, maternal cousin of the Pandavas, or one of the family members of the Yadavas, don't consider him in that way. He is the supreme personality of Godhead. So we will skip some of these verses. All of you can read through, but we'll only go through selective portions. So then Bhagavatam also mentions why are these tribulations that are given by the Lord upon his devotees. Yesterday morning in Srimad Bhagavatam, there was a Srimad Bhagavatam class by His Grace Radhesham Prabhu in Pune, and which I was watching online, and Prabhuji was explaining this particular point. What are the different degrees of mercy that are shown by Lord Krishna upon his devotees? So first point Prabhuji mentioned was the 2 verses from the Chatushloki Bhagavad Gita, where Lord Krishna mentioned that Tesham satatayuktana bhajatam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayanti me. that those who are engaged in serving Lord Krishna gives the intelligence by which they understand how to reach Lord Krishna. So he gives the intelligence by which these devotees can come to him. And then next mercy that is shown by the Lord is that he removes the darkness of ignorance from the heart of such a devotee who is surrendered, and he enlightens such a devotee through the lamp of knowledge in their heart. And then Prabhuji was mentioning further, when a devotee surrenders unto the Lord, then Lord Krishna, when the, say for example, whatever we saw, the text from the Chatushloki Bhagavad Gita, they are like to bring a devotee who has just started on the path of perfection, say up till 30, 40, 50%. But when the devotee has already reached the stage of 80, 90%, to pull the devotee to finish last 10-15%, whenever the need arises, the Lord puts the devotee in the situation of complete helplessness. Like Prema Prakash Haridas Prabhuji mentioned the example of Srila Prabhupada. He experiencing great losses in his pharmaceutical business. And same example was also explained by Radheshyam Prabhu yesterday, where he mentioned that Bose Pharmacy, which was Srila Prabhupada's pharmaceutical venture, at that particular point in time, if it would have flourished the way it was progressing, Prabhupada definitely would have been one of the top 10-15 richest people in India. But Krishna did not want his pure devotee to be one of the top 10 or 15 richest persons in the country. He wanted his pure devotee in a position spreading Krishna consciousness all over the world, so that thousands and thousands of conditioned living souls like all of us, we can get benefited from it. So here in the Bhagavatam, Divya Rukmini Mataji, you want to read through this? Tribulations?
Hare Krishna. Tribulations imposed upon the devotees by the Lord constitute another exchange of transcendental bhava between the Lord and the devotees. The Lord says, I put my devotees into difficulties, and thus the devotees become more purified in exchanging transcendental bhava with me. Placing the devotees into material troubles means delivering him from the illusory material relations. The material relations are based on reciprocations of material enjoyment, which depends mainly on material resources. Therefore, when material resources are withdrawn by the Lord, the devotee is 100% attracted toward the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Thus, the Lord snatches the fallen soul from the mire of material existence.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
So here we see that Bhagavatam mentions that when that remaining last 10-15% has to be perfected, of course, we cannot judge great personalities, great devotees like Srila Prabhupada, who are Lord's eternal associates in the spiritual world. But just to show an example for all of us, Srila Prabhupada is explaining that how Lord puts a devotee into great tribulations. Even in Srila Prabhupada's life, we see that the spouse was non-cooperative. And these were special circumstances. Even children, they were not like fully in, of course, when Prabhupada was still in the household life, they were not sufficiently grown and all. But later on also we see that hardly any one of the children took a proper interest in Srila Prabhupada's mood and mission. So these are the special circumstances that are arranged by the Lord for a devotee, so that the material relationships, the material resources are withdrawn and the material relationships don't stand. And then the devotee has no one else than the Supreme Lord to take shelter of. And thus the Lord, Srimad Bhagavatam mentioned, thus the Lord snatches the fallen soul from the mire of material existence. That means that part may be painful for many of us, but if that is what is required to bring a person back home, back to Godhead, Krishna does not mind implementing that. Of course, we should not get scared, because if we are ourselves surrendered to the Lord and if the family is also cooperating nicely in the service of the Lord, then there is no need for giving up such relationships. They are all conducive to the devotional service. But if The devotee's attachment to the such so-called family relations is on a material platform, and that attachment is being an impediment in our perfecting our Krishna consciousness, then Krishna can deploy such means to pull such a devotee towards him. Any questions, comments, Prabhuji, on this? Hare Krishna. All right, we proceed. O king, that personality whom out of ignorance only you thought to be your maternal cousin, your very dear friend, well-wisher, counselor, messenger, benefactor, etc., is that very personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. So Bhishmadev is establishing the position of the Lord and is asking Maharaj Yudhishthir and the Pandavas not to consider him through any material relations. So these verses all of you can go through. Yeah. Who is the next devotee? I would request you to... Other devotees can keep your hands on.
Can I have one question, Prabhuji?
Yes, Murli Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, I think this is a good point, the material resource part. See, the difference between Arjuna and Duryodhana was quite exemplified in here. When the war was to start, and then Krishna said to them, okay, you can come and decide, you can request me whatever you want. What did Arjuna ask, and what did Duryodhana ask? Duryodhana asked for the material part, and when Arjuna asked for the spiritual part, he just asked Krishna to be with him. Yeah, so I think this is a point which was reflected there, and that led to the victory of Pandavas. This is just a thought, Prabhu.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Murli Prabhu. And as you rightly mentioned, even that material empowerment, we see that when it was taken away from Arjuna, where he was not able to protect the queens of Dwarka from the coward men.
Yeah.
Arjuna acknowledged it, that the same Lord Krishna who had granted me the empowerment where because of which I could fight so many Maharathis in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, now I am totally devoid of that empowerment. As a result, I could not protect the queens of Dwarka from the attack of those coward men. And we know behind the scenes from the scriptures that those coward men who attacked Arjuna were in fact Lord Krishna himself. Nobody else can touch the consorts of the Lord. But the point is, even when those material empowerments are taken away from a devotee, the devotee does not become restless, or he or she does not become like ungrateful or rebellious towards the Lord, that because you have taken it away, I don't want to render service. Pandavas immediately denounced everything, handed over the kingdom to the to Parikshit Maharaj, and left towards the north. So they were not at all attached to the material offerings. Dhanya Dhameshwari Mataji, you can read through the Supreme Lord.
Yes. Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare
The
Krishna.
Supreme Lord, the absolute personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, although equal to everyone, is still more inclined to his unflinching devotee, who is completely surrendered and knows no one else as his protector and master. Having unflinching faith in the Supreme Lord as one's protector, friend, and master is the natural
condition.
One second, Prabhu. Screen got. Yeah, natural condition of eternal life. A living entity is so made by the will of the Almighty that he is most happy when placing himself in a condition of absolute dependence.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu.
So we see that Bhagavatam is stressing the point that to be approaching the Lord at the time of difficulty, to depend on the Lord is a great thing. There is nothing to feel short of, or feel embarrassed or feel awkward in approaching the Lord in case of difficulty, or to depend on the Lord's mercy. Many a times we see that in the modern times it is considered as something of a lower, or as an embarrassment, if we are dependent on anyone to take help. people like to be independent, they like to be self-sufficient. But Srimad Bhagavatam does not recommend that. Srimad Bhagavatam, even in the episode of Prahlad Maharaj mentions that it is quite natural for the child to undoubtedly go to his parents or go to the mother for protection whenever a difficult time arises. So similarly, for a devotee, it is quite natural to approach the Lord, and one should not feel shy of doing that. One should not feel anything less if he is approaching the Lord. In fact, Bhagavatam condemns the mentality of being so-called dependent to solve our own things. So we take shelter of Lord Krishna as if everything depends on the Lord. And then we put our endeavor as if everything depends on our endeavor. That should be the mood of a devotee. That we depend on the mercy of the Lord, but put our best possible efforts forward for the pleasure of the Lord. And we have seen several examples on this earlier, including the example of the famous saint from Barsana, Ramesh Baba, where once while sleeping on the terrace of the particular compound, he was keeping a small stick just to protect himself from the leopard who was on the loose. And when a devotee asked him, what is the use of this small stick in defending yourself? Ramesh Baba mentioned that this defending myself using this stick is not important. It is to show endeavor to the Lord that I am at least trying. Then afterwards, if it is Lord's will, he may want to protect me or not protect me. That is his will. But I want to at least show my endeavor. That is the mood of a devotee, of total dependence on the Lord. Prema Priya Jayashree Mataji, Hare Krishna. Yes, Mataji, please start. You can start from the best way.
Yes, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
The best way to establish a relation in transcendental sweetness is to approach him through his recognized devotees. One should not try to establish the relation directly. There must be a medium which is transparent and competent to lead us to the right path. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. And in this particular section of Bhagavatam, we see in the purport, Srila Prabhupada also stresses the point that only through the authorities like Bhishmadev, who is one of the 12 authorities, 12 Mahajanas, we can try to approach the Lord or understand him. Because personalities like Bhishmadev, they are able to explain and give Krishna to us. We cannot try to approach Krishna or establish our relationship with him directly. And in this regard, there are multiple Vaishnava songs. There is one particular Vaishnava song. What is that? Yeah, Ebaro Karuna Karo. So this is one of the Vaishnava songs in which the Vaishnava poet, the composer, he glorifies the Vaishnavas, he glorifies the pure devotees of the Lord, that Tomara Rudayo Sada Govinda Vishram, Govinda Kohena Mora Vaishnava Paran. That means such a devotees, because they carry Krishna in their heart, they are able to give us Krishna. And even Krishna mentions that such a pure devotee is my heart and soul, and I don't know anyone but such a devotee, and that devotee does not know anyone but me. And we also see similar type of response from Lord Vishnu to Durvasa Muni when he went to take shelter of the Lord for protection from Sudarshan Chakra, which was about to kill him. And Lord Vishnu completely mentioned his inability to give protection and instead routed Durvasa Muni to his devotee Ambarish Maharaj, that because you have offended my devotee, it is your only hope is if Ambarish Maharaj forgives you, then you will be protected. Otherwise, I am myself helpless to offer you any protection, because such a devotee does not know anyone but Krishna, and Krishna does not know anyone but such a devotee. So till now we saw Bhishmadev explaining to Yudhishthir Maharaj about the position of the Lord and how one should always depend on the Lord, how one should always submit oneself to fulfilling the will of the Lord, and whatever tribulations are there, that should be understood as accepting the will of the Lord as good as his favors. Then Bhagavatam explains in Bhishmadev's prayer that how does Lord reciprocate with such a devotee who is completely surrendered unto him throughout his life. So maybe we'll go through this verse. Prema Priya Jayashri Mataji, you want to recite this verse, text 23?
Yes, Prabhuji. Yes, Hare Krishna. Bhaktyavesh mano yasmin
Bhaktyavesh
Mano
mano yasmin
vachayan nama kirtayan
Vachayan nama
nama
kirtayan
kirtayan
tyajan kalevaram yogi
Tyajan
Tyajan
kalevaram
kalevaram
yogi
yogi
muchyate kama karmavihi.
Muchyate
kama
kama
karmabhihi.
karmabhihi.
Hare Krishna.
Translation?
Yeah. The personality of Godhead who appears in the mind of the devotee by attentive devotion and meditation and by chanting of the holy name releases the devotee from the bondage of fruitive activities at the time of his quitting the material body.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
So, for such a devotee who is totally dedicated to surrendering himself through the life to the Lord, Lord personally takes care to liberate such a devotee from the cycle of fruitive results. And personally, one second, what is the point I have mentioned here? Yes. How does the Lord reciprocate with the devotional service by his devotee? By liberating the devotee at the end of his life from the cycle of fruitive activities. So now we will start with the instructions. So after Bhishma has established the position of the Lord as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then we see Yudhishthir Maharaj subsequently approaching Bhishmadev and submitting his query. What query Yudhishthir Maharaj had, which Krishna was not able to completely pacify him? Yes, Prabhuji's, Mataji's. What was the purpose of Lord Krishna bringing the Pandavas to Bhishmadev? What was the specific arrangement?
They wanted the
advise
devotee to see him. Yeah,
for
excellent.
the
Yeah.
One
Hare
by
Krishna.
Continue, Mataji. Continue.
so yeah, all yeah, maybe Shama Gopika Mataji, you go first.
Yeah. Prabhu, because Yudhishthira Maharaj was holding himself responsible for the death of so many people in the battle of Kurukshetra. Yeah, and that's why Krishna did not let Yudhishthira be convinced by his words because he wanted to glorify Bhishmadev.
Bhishmadev. Very nice, Mataji. Thank you. Thank you. Anything you want to add, Divya Rukmini Mataji or Prem Priya Mataji? Hare Krishna.
no, Prabhu, the same
Okay.
thing.
One thing, Prabhuji. Lord Krishna wanted Bhishmadeva to see the Pandavas very opulent and very comfortable at the time of his death. By bringing them in an aristocratic form, in the royal way, he wanted him to be contented that they're all fine and leave his body.
Yes. So that was also one of the purpose that Lord Krishna wanted to give darshan to Bhishmadev and give him satisfaction, contentment of seeing the Pandavas who he had seen all through his life facing lot of injustices despite following the path of virtue and religiosity. So Krishna wanted to give that satisfaction to Bhishmadev. And that satisfaction, that particular episode, he arranged by the reason what Shama Gopika Mataji mentioned, by not letting Yudhishthir Maharaj be convinced, be pacified through Lord Krishna's own explanation. Lord Krishna wanted Bhishmadev to be glorified by convincing Yudhishthir Maharaj. So here Bhishmadev is praying to the Lord that, my dear Lord, may my Lord, who is four-handed and whose beautifully decorated lotus face, with eyes as red as the rising sun, is smiling, kindly await me at that moment when I quit this material body. So this is a desire that is submitted by Bhishmadev, that may Lord be present when Bhishmadev is leaving his body. And in the purport, Srila Prabhupada mentions that even such a great devotee like Bhishmadev, basically he is not taking it for granted that he is surely going back home, back to Godhead. So he is putting forth his desire to see the darshan of the Lord, before he leaves his body, because he's not sure whether after quitting the body, whether he will go back home, back to God. He is not assuming it. So he was such a surrendered devotee that he was ready to accept the position after his death, whatever Lord Krishna awards. So here Prabhupada mentions in the purport, a Vaishnava is always humble in his behavior. Although it was 100% certain that Bhishmadev was approaching Vaikuntha Dhama just after leaving his material body, still, as a humble Vaishnava, he desired to see the beautiful face of the Lord, for after quitting the present body, he might not be in a position to see the Lord anymore. So he thought that while I have my faculties working, senses working, let me take the darshan of the Lord, because after death, I don't know whether I will be able to get that darshan anymore. He was not presuming that he will go back home, back to Godhead. He desired that the Lord stay before him in his four-handed Narayan feature, so that he might concentrate upon him and thus be in trance in that meditation. Then his mind might be sanctified with thinking of the Lord. Thus he did not mind wherever he might go. This is a very exalted point, basically. We can't imitate, but a pure devotee is never very anxious to go back to the kingdom of God. He entirely depends on the goodwill of the Lord. He is equally satisfied even if the Lord desires him to go to the hell. So this is point for a very exalted devotees, that they are ready to go to any part of the cosmic manifestation wherever Lord needs their service. But we cannot imitate them. Prabhupada says that in our conditioned state right now, we should not take too much of a risk. We should just target to go back home, back to Godhead, so that we are not enamored in the material world by the material energy of the Lord. And maybe once that stage reaches, then it is up to Krishna to give us that level of protection where wherever that pure devotee goes, he is completely remembering Lord Krishna. Similar prayer is also offered by Prahlad Maharaj. He says that, my dear Lord Narsimhadev, I am not too much worried about myself, because I know that wherever am I will always be remembering you, but I am more worried about the fools and rascals in this world who are forgetful about you. So first take them back home, back to Godhead. Let me stay back. After they go, then if you want, you can take me. But don't take me first. Let these fools and rascals first go back home, back to Godhead. So this is the mood of a pure devotee. So now we come to the main group exercise for today. So where we will have, let me see, either 4 or 5 different groups. And just for this exercise to be efficient, what we will do is each of the 4 or 5 different groups will cover one category of the different varnas and ashramas about whom Bhishmadev teaches in great length the duties of different participants in the varnashram system. So Bhishmadev explains to Yudhishthir Maharaj. So all of you need to go through text 25 to 28. So 4 text 25, 26, 27 and 28, and jot down the duties of these each orders of the varnashram system, mainly the Brahmanas, the Kshatriyas, the Vaishyas and the Shudras. What are the duties as explained by Bhishmadev in the verses as well as in the Bhagavatam purports. And the 5th group probably can have a conclusion. What are the guidelines for other classes that are mentioned, specifically the women class, and also guidelines for the householders, grahasthas. So is the task clear, Prabhuji's, Mataji's? Any question on this? So we'll have 5 breakout rooms. First group needs to take care of the duties of Brahmanas, second one of Kshatriyas, then Vaishyas, Shudras, and last one of the duties of other class. That doesn't mean that women don't fall in these classes. These are the varnas, and ashramas are basically the brahmachari, grahastha, vanaprastha, sannyas. Dhanya Dhameshwari Mataji, you have any question? Hare Krishna. All right. So let me just put this in the group chat, and please don't take more than around 10-12 minutes. There are 4 purports, so you will need minimum 6-7 minutes to scan through the purports. Jot down those points, collate as a group, and choose 1 or 2 representatives for the group to present. Hare Krishna. Any question, Mataji, on this? Mataji's, Prabhuji's?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yes, Mataji.
Prabhu, I have a question for that sloka 24 from the purport from Srila Prabhupada explain.
Okay. Okay.
Wrote that. So can I ask afterwards or?
Yeah, you can ask now, Mataji.
Yeah, Prabhu, when I go through this purport, I read that devotees never puffed up. It's my actually I come to know that it's a showing all the purport while reading. I come to know that the humbleness, how humble is Sri Bhishma Pitamaha. So such a very difficult condition. He is showing the humbleness towards the Pandavas and all. So my question is that, so as a practicing devotees or Vaishnava, so it's not, I am not eligible to say like something like that. So while we showing some sort of humbleness or patience towards, mostly we are in contact with in materialistic people. So I felt like that if we show some sort of humbleness or just trying to practice that qualities, what Prabhupada is mentioned. So I felt that the other people are utilizing us because most of the time it's how can we is it so on that situation, how can we reciprocate, how can we come out of that feeling? So I know that even in devotees satsang also sometimes we felt like that they are maybe I'm not the my practice, everything is not in a correct way. That is why maybe I'm feeling something like that. So how can we come out of that? It's it's very difficult for us. Then we will frustration, everything is coming when we are mostly when we are in with the non-material people, material people, no. So in materialistic people, we are in communicating with them in job place, all this.
Got it, Mother. Thank you. So basically, in this regard, Prabhupada, there was a similar question, and Prabhupada quotes the story of a snake disciple of Narada Muni. So Narada Muni, as we know that he is such a Bhakti Shakti empowered personality that he is able to give Krishna consciousness to people from different walks of life, even the fallen ones in the lives of animals. So one time, one such snake becomes a devotee and disciple of Narada Muni. And Narada Muni, when he visits the snake disciple next time, the snake complains that basically now that the villagers know that I have become a devotee, they know that I won't basically attack or counteract. And many a time children or people are just throwing stones on me, and it's becoming very difficult to even leave. And then Narad Muni mentions to the snake disciple that being a devotee does not mean that you let everybody else step on your head. He says that show the fang, but don't bite. That means that when doing our day-to-day duties in the outside world, being humble doesn't mean that we let people exploit us. We stay firm in our dealings, in our behavior. But it is like we should be like lion outside, but we should be like lamb within the circle of the devotees. But generally, we tend to be opposite. Within the devotees, sometimes we are quite rude, straightforward, insensitive, and all. But while dealing with the outsiders, then we are like a lamb. So while dealing with the outside world, Mataji, we have to be firm. We have to be proper and firm in our dealings with them. We can't really be susceptible to their exploitation. But here, a Vaishnava is humble in his behavior, as in humble in terms of dealing with other devotees, dealing our interaction with the Lord, and so on and so forth. So we have to
Uh,
definitely
Prabhu,
protect. Yeah,
Hare,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, Hare Krishna Prabhu. If we are opposing them, so you know that, no. So if we say something, so they will also start something like. So mostly, what I will do means I will go out from there, or I will just out from that situation, or so they're thinking like, okay, she is not that much okay. That is the situation I am facing always, because I don't want to make a like
Confrontation.
yeah, very bad situations for the talking, all these things, all the so. We know that we are not. See, for myself, I am not a good devotee. Then sometimes it will come like bad communications also in between. So no. So mostly, is it okay if I just get out from the, so if I out from the situation, or if I just away from the situation to
It,
make more complications?
it is okay as long as it is not personally troubling you to an extent that you feel depressed, or you feel, not emotionally healthy. To that extent, it is fine. If it is affecting emotionally, then better protect your own emotional health as well. Okay,
Hare
Mataji.
Krishna, Hare
Hare,
Krishna, Prabhu, Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna. Yeah, don't let outside world abuse or misuse or exploit. So that much we should protect
Yeah, Prabhu.
ourselves.
Yeah, Prabhu, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So going back to the group exercise, Prabhuji's, Mataji's, I have put the details on the group chat. Is there any question, query anybody has? If not, I will start the breakout rooms. And let me check the timing. Okay, so we'll take around 12 minutes. Out of 12 minutes, give around 5 to 6 minutes to scan these purports, and 4 to 5 minutes for discussion and jotting down the points. So we'll have 5 breakout rooms in this order. So first one, focus just on the duties of a Brahmanas as mentioned in these verses. Don't give any speculative answers, Prabhuji's, Mataji's, which is not mentioned in the purport. Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Shudras. And final group will focus on the characteristics and the recommendations for the women class that is mentioned, and for the householders. Is that all right, Prabhuji's, Mataji's?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay, okay, fine. So let me see, where is the breakout room? Yes. So take around 12 minutes and then we again come back to this main room. Hare Krishna. Prema Priya Jayashree Mataji, your group's discussion is over.
Over, Prabhuji, over. Yeah.
Okay, okay. Let me then other groups also. 1 second. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji's Mataji. Was the time sufficient or you needed?
Yes,
some-
sufficient, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhuji. Yes.
Because it is divided into 4 groups, so it's very
Yes, very
sufficient.
good, actually.
5.
Streamlined discussions.
Okay, okay. Fine. So, let me hang on a gallery. Yes. So, who would be the devotees from group 1, which is Mangala Mahish, Shri Prada Mataji, Murli Prabhu, Radhika Ratnanga Mataji, Sanjukta Mataji, Shama Gopika Mataji, and Tarini Krishna Kanta Mataji.
Hare
Nitya
Krishna,
Mataji
Prabhu.
will be presenting. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Radhika Mataji. I think Prabhuji is asking for group 1.
Ours was group 2, sir. So I got a
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, for group 1, Prabhu, I will be presenting the points.
Sure.
And we were in between the discussion. Last point, some Mataji was telling, and then we were in the midst of discussion. So maybe I will ask that Mataji to add after I present the other points.
Yes, Mataji. Who is the other Mataji? I can pin
Uh,
there also.
I don't
Oh,
know.
okay, that's
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, it's myself,
okay.
Sanjukta.
Sanjukta Mataji. Yes,
Mm.
Mataji.
Yeah. So I'll start Prabhu and then later Sanjukta.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, first of all, Prabhu, the conception of 4 castes and 4 orders, Varnashrama, is presented by the Lord Himself. The purpose is to accelerate the transcendental qualities of the individual person so that he may gradually realize his spiritual identity and then get freed from the material bondage. And then there are prerequisites for all the group of people to follow, which is there are 9 prerequisites given, which is like not to become angry, not to lie, to equally distribute wealth, to forgive, to beget children only by one's legitimate wife, to be pure in mind and hygiene in body, and to be not inimical to anyone, to be simple, and to support servants or subordinates. Then for Brahmanas especially, controlling the senses is the most essential qualification. Also, the sex indulgence even with a legitimate wife must also be controlled for Brahmanas. And then the another thing is like an intelligent man needs to study the scriptures, especially the Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita, and also from the bona fide spiritual master. And he must not do the things which are forbidden in Shastras. For example, a person cannot be a teacher if he drinks or smokes. And there are other things also which are forbidden in Shastras, he must not do. And another important thing is he should not misuse his education. And in Bhagavad Gita, there is a shloka 18.42, which says, Shamu Dhamas Tapa Shaucham, Shanti Rajavam Evacha, Dhyanam Vidyanam Astityam, Brahma Karma Swabhavajam. So in that also the qualities of Brahmanas are given. What qualities the Brahmanas should have. So, just a minute.
Thank you, Mataji. Actually, I
Peacefulness, self-control, austerity, purity, tolerance, honesty, knowledge, wisdom, and religiousness. These are the qualities. So maybe Sanjukta Mataji can add the other points. Thank you.
Thank you, Shama Gopika Mataji. Yes, Sanjukta Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, in 9.26, it was given that qualified Brahmana should be give the good direction to the kings for the proper administration, and they should give the knowledge of scripture like Manu Shamhita and Parasara Shamhita, so that the king can use those knowledge and do the good administrations. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Mataji. And do we see any examples from the scriptures of the Brahmanas guiding the king? Any examples?
Vasishta Muni Prabhu.
Vasishta Muni guiding?
Guiding Dashrath Maharaj.
Dashrath Maharaj, very nice. Who else?
And even Kripacharya, like Kripacharya was the Acharya for Hastinapur.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Kripacharya. Then we read earlier about Dhaumya Rishi as a priest of the Pandavas, guiding Pandavas. We read about Prithu Maharaj's father, King Vena, being chastised by the Brahmanas and dethroned subsequently because of not following the religious way of administration. So like that, Brahmanas, they were always guiding, and if the king is non-compliant, they had the power to even replace the king. So thank you. Have we missed any other part? Any other devotees want to add anything on the Brahmanas? Hare Krishna. So what is the most important quality of a Brahmana based on group 1 devotees reading? So it can differ person to person. I thought one particular quality Prabhupada stresses.
Control of senses.
Control of senses. Yeah.
Okay. Control of
and
senses.
study of scriptures.
Study of scriptures. Okay. I thought somewhere Prabhupada also stresses the tolerance part. A Brahmana should be very...
Austerity, Prabhupada. Austerity.
Thank you, Vandita Tungavidya Mataji. All right. So if no other additional points, we will move to group 2. So who are the group 2 devotees? Ananda Vilas Prabhu, Rajashri Mataji, Nityangi Prema Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes, 1 second. Hold on. Let me pin the 1 second. Hold on, Mataji. Where did it go? Krishna. Yes, Nityang Mataji. Yes, Mataji.
This is Namita Prabhuji.
Okay, you are Namita Mataji. Okay, fine.
So here, Radhika Mataji and Vipin Vilas Prabhuji added 2 points, Prabhuji. Vipin Prabhuji said that giving charity, give only the charity, not take the charity, and don't fake violence, and lead in fighting. And Mataji, Radhika Mataji, she told about Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, and the different characteristics of Varnashrama Dharma. I added few points like Bhishma specifically cited charity as the prime duty of business and even industrial career, and politics and the main duty for administrative like government careers and all in Kshatriya Varna, and prime duty for the Brahmana Varna is educational and philosophical career. And regarding this, Bhishma also said that sometimes duties overlap with each other and with other borders of different careers and stages of evolution, while at other times are specific only to certain people. And Mataji said regarding Kama, Artha, Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. Here Bhishma Deva explained there are 4 goals of human life. Here the Kama is we search means people search for pleasure, and in artha, they means which lead us to desire stability, and in dharma, that is for the morality, it is foundation for the happiness, which then leads us to desire, order, and morality, to ensure the stability of our shared social foundations. Then in finally the moksha, it culminates in the desire for enlightenment. So as okay, so this is her conclusion, Prabhuji, Radhika Mataji conclusion.
Thank you, Nityangi Mataji. And what does Srila Prabhupada mention about the topsy-turvy nature of the charity in the current times? Srila Prabhupada writes a very important point for the Kshatriyas. What is happening currently in terms of giving charity and receiving charity?
May I?
Yes, Prema Priya Jayashree Mata.
Actually,
Is this
nowadays,
answer? Yeah, go ahead, Mata.
the politicians are accepting charity, Prabhuji, the present day, and they're back in the, and they're not on the stage at all. They're at the back stage, and they're making other people fight, and they're just looking at what is happening. That's all, and they accept charity in forms of different forms. They accept money.
Yes, so Prabhupada mentions the example of the political functions where they receive the funds for the party. So they said that they are accepting charity instead of being charitable. A Kshatriya should not accept charity, should be charitable himself. And thank you for, in terms of the wars and all, Kshatriya, Prabhupada writes, Kshatriya can return home only when injured or harmed by the enemies. But nowadays they don't even face the battlefield. They instigate and the soldiers from very remote locations staying very safe. So that is not. And Prabhupada says that if they don't lead from the front, then from that time onwards, the Varnashram system, it becomes corrupt. So it's no more proper. And Prabhupada also basically he blasts Kshatriyas having the spirit of non-violence. Then they are called coward. So they are not Kshatriyas at all. If they are non-violent, they should know how to administer violence for establishing justice.
Prabhuji, one thing, Prabhuji, the present day politicians, they are creating a lot of non-violence, Prabhuji. Through instigating groupism and all that, they are actually, that they are doing it from the backstage. On the front, they don't come. They get all, they are the cause for a lot of catastrophe in the society, Prabhuji.
Yes.
But so unhealthy, very unhealthy, yeah.
Yes, thank you, Mataji. And right now also we saw there are almost prominent, there are 2 to 3 wars, but non-prominent, almost 10 to 12 wars are going on in parallel. So which is very, very risky and surprising. Hare Krishna. Any other devotees want to add anything for Brahmanas and Kshatriyas so far? Any other point we have missed? Bhishmadeva's instruction.
Hare Krishna, Prabhudev.
Yes, Vandita Mataji.
Brahmanas are expert in spiritual knowledge, Prabhudev. Spiritual knowledge of transcendence.
Yes.
This department of knowledge is called Gnana Kanda.
Yes, thank you, Vandita Mataji.
This devotional service, Upasana Kanda, this one also Upasana Kanda. There is called Upasana Kanda.
Thank you, Hare Krishna. Vandita.
Service of Vishnu, Lord Vishnu, Prabhuji. Service of Lord Vishnu. Upasana Kanda means service of Lord Vishnu.
Yeah, so we will discuss on the Upasana in the 5th session, Mother. Let the 5th group speak because we have few points on that. Okay?
Okay.
Hare Krishna. Any other devotees have anything? If not, then we move to group 3, which is Lalita Vinodini Mataji, Prem Prakash Prabhu, Prema Priya Jayashree Mataji, Rohini Mataji, and Vandita Tunga Vidya Mataji.
Prabhuji, we have chosen Lalita Mataji to present her. She will present all our discussion.
Okay, Prabhuji.
Yeah, I'll speak on behalf of group 3. So there are very few points, and if at all any points have been added, Prema Priya Mataji and Prabhuji will add. Yeah. See, these Vaishya communities are the mercantile communities. They are especially advised to take care of the animals like cows. So through cows, like, we get milk, and that can be given for trading and all. Through milk, they get, curd, butter and all, which can be sold, and, it can be done for trading. And agriculture distribution is also taken care of by them. And then Vaishyas and Kshatriyas were given even Kshatriyas are given the protection of all animals, not only cow, all animals, because killing of animals is a barbarous act, which is not needed at all for human consumption. But we have enough produce as rice and wheat, but unnecessarily our human labor is being wasted in industrial produce, which cannot produce, wheat and rice and all. So, such efforts can be saved, and we should be concentrating on the production of agricultural produce, which is very much sufficient for all the human consumption.
Thank you, Mataji. And there is one specific point Prabhupada mentions: the Vaishyas and the Shudras should not do. What was that? He mentions that they should not do one particular role in the society.
Sannyasa?
So he mentions that they should
Leadership.
Leadership. Yeah, they should not do the administrative part, which is happening in the modern day and times, where a lot of businessmen and all, they are assuming leadership position. Then the Varnashram institution is also harmed if Vaishyas start taking the leadership role. So leadership should be left with the Kshatriyas, and Vaishyas should, as you mentioned, they should support cow protection. They should do the agriculture produce. And yeah, the factories you mentioned, the factories and the industries, they should not be for the mechanical. What is the exact word Prabhupada uses? That
machines and
machines.
The
Yeah.
Machines and the tools used for killing the animals for animal eating must be prevented, and that industrialization leads civilization to a wrong direction and keeps the hunger and thirst more and more evident.
Thank you, Prabhu. So this is just a guess. Okay, you might have heard the first Prime Minister of India. We don't want to take names, but he mentioned that industries are the temples for the modern India, something like that. And Prabhupada did not appreciate that statement, frankly, because if there is too much industrialization without having a sound religious footing, then it would not help in making the populace and subjects happy and satisfied in their own day-to-day life.
Especially in a country like India, Prabhuji, they're very high population. Many go starving, they go jobless, and they suffer.
Yes, thank
And
you.
one more thing, this wonderful community Vaishyas, the indirectly they're getting God's benedictions. They are helping in the promotion of growing curd and milk, which is used by the Brahmanas for offering worship to the Lord. So they are doing a great justice by doing this, Prabhuji. Great service to the Lord by doing this.
Thank you, Prema Priya Mataji. And
Prabhuji,
yes, Prabhuji, please go ahead.
there is one more distinction made by Prabhupada that Kshatriyas are given responsibility for protection of the citizens, whereas the Vaishyas are given responsibility for protection of all the animals.
Yes, very important point. I missed this. That Kshatriyas are responsible for protection of all humanity, and the Vaishyas are specifically for the protection of the animals. Thank you. And we would be glad to know that Nanda Maharaj, through his own example, like we typically hear about Nanda Maharaj having 900,000 plus cows, but he did not have just cows. Nanda Maharaj also had other animals, including camels and all other animals, also as part of his the animals that he was supporting and maintaining. Yeah. Any other point we miss, Prabhuji's, Mataji's, on the Vaishya community, mercantile community? All right. So now we move to the second last group, group 4. Ananda Prada Indulekha Mataji, Divya Rukmini Mataji, Gita Mataji, Ishwari Murari Priya Mataji, Jagadananda Prabhu, and Vipin Vilas Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Jagadananda Prabhu.
Yeah, so I will try to sum up this, what we learned. So we have jotted down few points. The Shudra class is less intelligent and should have no independence. The first point. The second is they are meant for rendering sincere service to the three higher sections of society. The third point is the Shudra class can attain all comforts of life simply by rendering service to the higher classes. The next point is it is especially enjoined that the Shudra should never bank money because as soon as he accumulates wealth, it will be misused for sinful activities like wine, women, and gambling. The next point is higher castes should always look after the maintenance of the Shudras and they should provide them with old and used garments. Next point is a Shudra should never leave his master when the master is old and invalid. The master should keep the servants satisfied in all respects. And the final point is the Shudra must first of all be satisfied with the sumptuous food and clothing before any sacrifice is performed. In this age, so many functions are held by spending millions, but the poor laborer is not sumptuously fed or given charity. This is the points you summed up, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. And what Srila Prabhupada mentioned, what happens as a result, because the laborers are not properly taken care before the function, then they go on strike and so many other things. They are not properly taken care and many times people might get offended that why we are calling a certain section of people as Shudra and all, but the fact even today is based on the characteristics that are mentioned in Bhagavatam. There is definitely a major section of the society, not major, almost 99.99% with Shudra mentality. And as a result, we see that whenever there is slight extra income, people do tend to indulge in this gratificatory activity what are mentioned in Bhagavatam. All of you will be surprised to know the government here, for the foreigners, they have kept the entry into the casino free. But for the local people, they charge huge fees, like $100 plus. That means they want to discourage their own people from going into casino, but they want to encourage the foreigners to indulge in that. And more people do fall prey to that. So we can practically see whatever Bhagavatam is mentioning in front of our own eyes as well. That if Shudras get surplus money, where they will indulge into. That is clearly to be seen in practical world. Any other point, Prabhuji's, Mataji's, on all these four orders before we move to the last group?
We create ill will by not giving them enough charity, Prabhuji. Enough, if you don't pay them enough, after some work is done, say a construction is done, a house construction or whatever construction, we create their ill will for the ill will can't be defined in terms, the specific terms, but it acts. Ill will acts.
Exploitation, like exploitation of them by not giving enough remuneration. Yeah, it is true, and especially like not to go too much into the social issues, but few months back I also read an article about the treatment of the laborers in the Middle East, where while the employers, they are living a life of such luxury and comfort, but the laborers are not properly taken care, who are building such huge mansions and the skyscrapers. They are not properly remunerated. So thank you, Mataji. Now we go to the last group, which is Subbarao Prabhu, Reena Mataji, Shailaja Mataji, Usha Kamat Mataji, and Venkata Narsimha Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, we were only two of us in the group.
Yes, I saw that, Mataji. I think rest of the devotees did not participate. So you and Prabhuji can add Usha Mataji.
Yes, Prabhuji.
I will present this matter, Prabhuji.
Okay, Prabhu.
The first one is women are power of inspiration to men. The second one is women are more powerful than men. The example was given as Julius Caesar was controlled by Cleopatra. The third one is women will be controlled by shyness. If that is the control wall for the women, and if that control wall is not properly used, they can create havoc in the society by adultery and causes Varna Sankrana.
Yes, yes,
That
Prabhu.
is for women. Regarding the householders, their life is only for attached. Those who want to have attachment with other members, they will choose householding. And the main function of householders is give charity even up to 50% of their earnings to control these things. That is the one we have discussed.
Yes, I'm also looking for one more point Srila Prabhupada mentions for householders. What is the hope for householders, Prabhuji's, Mataji's? It is mentioned in the purport. How they can perfect their lives.
Prabhuji, by installing a deity at home and worshipping the deity,
Yes.
by serving the deity, all the devotees also, by hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam, by trying to reside in a holy place, by chanting the holy name. These are all very inexpensive ways in which a householder can please the Lord.
Yes, so very important point Prabhupada is explaining as part of Bhagavatam purport how all the means that are required to perfect our lives as a householder, it doesn't cost too much money. Any person, even any ordinary middle class person also can arrange all these things and practice Krishna consciousness while doing our day-to-day, handling our day-to-day job and responsibilities. That we can install a deity at home, we can serve the deity and serve the devotees. By doing that, chant the holy names, take the association of devotees, read here Srimad Bhagavata, and by doing this, we can please the Lord. The simple process of pleasing the Lord for the householders.
So taking charity also, no, Prabhuji?
Yes, charity also, yes, because householders is the only section of the ashramas who are able to earn. The sannyasis, the vanaprasthas and the brahmacharis, they are supposed to dedicate their life fully. That means householders have to support the other ashramas. So my next question, Prabhuji's, Mataji's, is by reading all these instruction of Bhishma Dev for all the varnas and ashramas, what is the conclusion you feel? This is not mentioned in the purport, but understanding part, what do we conclude by going through this?
And duties of all the varnas are very specifically laid out. So there is no confusion in how one should lead their life.
Yes, so this is one point that all the roles and R&R we call in the corporate world. R&R means roles and responsibility. They are very, very clearly defined, no ambiguity as such. If we do this, we will definitely perfect our life. That is the first
Hare Krishna, Prabhupada.
Yes, Vandita Mataji.
Brahmanas train all the communities, Prabhuji, in dharma side.
Yes, but we are asking overall conclusion, overall
It ensures harmony, harmony in society.
Harmony, yes. And what is the last point Prabhupada drives at the end of text 27 purport?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Varnashram is the most scientific method of distributing the duties, what is called prescribed duties, and it is not by birth. And if civilization works in the process of Varnashram Dharma, they ultimately can lead themselves to going back to Godhead.
Yes, so this is a very important point, and even Shamagopika Mataji mentioned this in the beginning. The Varnashram has overall been created by the Lord. What was the statement? To grow the spiritual qualities. What was that statement, Mataji? You want to repeat that?
Yes, Prabhu. It is to accelerate the transcendental qualities of the individual person so that he may gradually realize his spiritual identity and get free from the material bondage.
Yes, to accelerate the transcendental qualities of all sections of the humanity, this Varnashram is created. So conclusion is, to achieve Krishna is not difficult if we follow these simple steps. Even if we are retired, even if we are householders, even if we are gents or ladies, or even if we are children. It is possible for each and every class of people to achieve perfection if we follow the simple guidelines that are given for our respective varna and ashrama. So it is not difficult to achieve perfection, provided we approach it systematically. Murli, Kari Prabhuji, you wanted
And
to
if
add
we
something?
follow,
Yeah, go ahead, Shama Gopika Mataji.
yeah, Prabhu, if we follow the guidelines which are provided, and also like uh, each of the varnas, right, they are self-contented with what they have, and they are not greedy for other things which are not meant for them. So, and then all the castes, like all the people, they are like indulged in, doing devotional service or performing devotional service in their own way. Yeah.
Thank you.
So to
Thank you.
achieve the perfection of life.
Thank you. So to achieve the
And
perfection of
also
life is
one
so
thing I
practical.
wanted
Yeah.
to add,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. And one thing I wanted to add was, like, Prabhu, in Bhagavad Gita 4.13 verse, it is stated, like, it is as per the work, guna karma vibhagasha. So these divisions, it is not by birth, it is by the activity that we
The activity and qualities. Yes, Mataji.
Yeah.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. Murli Prabhu, you wanted to add something?
Yes, Prabhuji. One of the key points, difference I see from the modern societies, we talk always about the rights. Yes, but here we are talking more about the obligations and the duties.
Responsibilities, yes.
Responsibilities and duties, and that is a key difference between the varna, the pure varnashrama system what we have, and the current societal thinking. That is what we can draw upon rather.
Thank you. Thank you, Prabhu. And Prabhupada often used to say, first deserve, then desire. So Shastras stress on what we should deserve in terms of following our responsibilities, then we can consider what we desire and all that. Hare Krishna. So maybe we'll have few more devotees who
Hare
have raised
Krishna,
their
Prabhu.
hand. Hare Krishna. Yes, Prabhuji.
Can I speak, Prabhu?
Yes, P.S. Murthy Prabhuji, please.
Prabhu, if I have understood your question correctly, you are asking about what is the gist of the whole thing.
Yes.
This is what was your question actually. We have discussed a lot of other things.
Yeah, so
to answer your question, Prabhu, the whole idea of explaining all these things to the Pandavas was to bring about the point that it is easy to please the Lord. You have to worship the deity, you have to follow the chanting, hearing, reading Bhagavad, Srimad Bhagavatam. I mean, by simply following all these things routinely, you can also please the Lord. This is what is
the gist.
Is the gist basically. Ultimately, this is what Vishnu Deva wanted to tell his grandchildren.
Thank you, Prabhu. So specifically, I liked one particular point that P.S. Murthy Prabhu mentioned. It is easy to please Lord. Following Krishna consciousness is not difficult. We just need to approach it systematically. One can achieve perfection in this very lifetime if we follow these guidelines. Okay. Usha Mataji, you had your hand raised. You wanted to add something?
Yes, Prabhuji. So to follow these instructions very diligently and to participate in all these activities, we need energy, and this energy is borrowed from the Lord. That's what is said in the Bhagavad. So when this energy is borrowed from the Lord, it is our primary duty to return it back to the Lord. And there's a beautiful analogy of the river that draws water from the sea and how it is returned to the sea. So whether we are doing, engaging in any activity, doing penance or sacrifice, preparing whatever we eat and offering that as prasadam, whether we are giving anything in charity, we must make Lord as the center of all these activities and return this borrowed energy back to him. And that's one of the means of purifying our contaminated state. That is what is mentioned in the book. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Usha Mataji. All right. So just one point that Prabhupada, he mentioned that like when devotees asked him that Prabhupada, after, say for example, Prabhupada was translating, giving commentary on Bhagavatam, the purports. Devotees asked, what would you like to do, Prabhupada, after Srimad Bhagavatam is finished? Now Bhagavad Gita, Chaitanya Charitamrita is already finished. Prabhupada said there are so many things that are yet to be finished and that I can focus my energy on if Bhagavatam is finished. He said there are important Goswami literatures which I can give commentary on. And one of the primary things Prabhupada mentioned, which is a task unfinished from his planned agenda, was the implementation of the Daivi Varnashram system. And it is not as simple as a one task item, but Prabhupada did guide devotees in terms of his guidelines on how the Daivi Varnashram can be instituted in a way where devotees, they don't have to worry about food, clothing, and shelter to an extent that they are not able to give time for Krishna consciousness. So to make arranging food, clothing, shelter relevantly easy so that devotees can spare more and more time for practicing Krishna consciousness. So by Prabhupada's vision and instructions, devotees are taking forth this. As a result, we see so many devotee communities being established in different parts of the world. There are many as such, including one we have near Belgaum in Karnataka, which is very flourishing. Venu Madhuri, if I'm not wrong, the name of the community. We also have GEV, Govardhan Eco Village near Mumbai, and so many other temple communities that are coming up. But establishing Daivi Varnashram, whatever we are reading, is not just theoretical. It is ultimately meant to make all of us in a basic comfort situation where practicing Krishna consciousness should be the focus of our lives, rather than having to worry for food, clothing, shelter, the basic necessities. Hare Krishna. So thank you all very much, Prabhuji's, Mataji's. So next session could probably be the last session of this chapter, where we'll cover Bhishmadev's prayers after his instructions to Yudhishthir Maharaj are over, and then we conclude this particular chapter. Thank you all very much. Hare Krishna. Vamcha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki Jai, Vaishnav Thakur ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you very